What's up, Wolfpack fam? Hope everyone is doing well. It's your boy Kid. We back at it again. So after last week's Only Fools and Horses, this was linked by Stephen and Nay. So shout out to you, homies. I could not say Nay's name properly, so I had to do a little nickname for it. But hopefully you know who you are. Appreciate the link in the channel, and we're gonna be checking out why you can't buy Dasani in Britain, guys. So very cool. Very excited to check this one out, so let's get it.
This is a bottle of Dasani, Coca-Cola's brand of bottled water. It is basically Coke without the syrup. Like most American bottled water, it is tap water that's been purified and then had tiny amounts of minerals deliberately added back into it. Except not quite. This is a British Dasani bottle from 2004, which is the first and last time that you could ever buy Dasani water in the UK. And the story of why it failed here is one of the greatest marketing disaster stories in history. But it wasn't until I started searching through newspapers and TV shows from 2004, that I found that the tale is a little more complicated than I thought. A little more complicated than a lot of the world thought. And it starts years earlier. Through most of the 1980s, bottled water was something expensive that got ordered at fancy restaurants, and it was only by the early 90s that it had started to become a thing that everyday people might want to buy. On Christmas Day, 1992, British sitcom Only Fools and Horses made fun of that trend by having its main character, lovable rogue Del Boy, sell tap water from South London as Peckham Spring bottled water. It's a slow and old-fashioned comedy by today's standards, and the episode is really weirdly paced. You're two-thirds of the way through before anyone actually starts bottling water. But because it was the Christmas Day episode in 1992, back when most British households only had 4 channels of television, that show was watched by more than 20 million people, more than a third of the entire British population. And the final joke of that episode is that the water is contaminated by some chemical barrels that Del Boy dumped in a local pond in the first act. It is, to be fair, a brilliant closing gag, and it's one that stuck in the British psyche. The BBC reran the episode another 5 times in the years after. It'll have been on cable and satellite channels many more times than that. I would guess that by 2004, when Dasani launched, about half of the country, maybe more, could understand Peckham Spring as a reference, or at least remembered that time Del Boy tried to bottle tap water. Now, under UK law, mineral water is a protected term. Mineral water must come from a certified underground spring. It must not be chemically treated in any way, and it's generally under heavy regulation. And back in 2004, the perception was that bottled water meant mineral water. Why else would you buy it? It's something you can't get at home. Over in America, though, the home of Coca-Cola, the perception of bottled water was that it was just that. It's water in a bottle. You were paying for the convenience and the taste, and it didn't really matter whether that came from the ground or from a water purification factory. To be fair, there are large parts of America where the tap water does not taste or smell good, and their federal standards aren't great, particularly compared to Europe. And anyone who has ever taken a vacation to Disney World, for example, will know that the tap water around Orlando can smell a little sulphury. But in the UK,
Very true. Do not drink the water in Florida, yo. You will have the shits, boys and girls. Do not drink the water in Florida for sure. For me in New York City, we don't gotta worry too much about the water like that. It's crazy just watching this, and number one, he's given a lot of informative facts. The sound is amazing, especially because the cars are passing. You hear this guy freaking immaculate, very clear. So that's awesome about it. And I'm liking how informative it is right now. But yeah, I cannot stand Dasani. I'll get back to it in a minute.
the perception was different. You were buying mineral water because it was natural. It had been filtered through rocks for eons. It was classier and fancier and perhaps healthier than what came out of your tap. That's rubbish, of course. We have some of the safest tap water in the world, and did back then too, but advertising is powerful, and the idea was that bottled water was filtered and pure straight from the earth. It was somehow better. Coca-Cola were trying to introduce an American-style filtered tap water to a British mineral water market. Now, they were not lying about their water. Their marketing didn't use the phrase tap water. They preferred purified water, but they weren't lying. It says on the back of the bottle, their process precisely delivers pure, still water. The public might have assumed it was mineral water, but Coca-Cola never said that. In fact, what they had done is spend a long time with focus groups, taste testing and refining the mineral balance and the flavour of the water, making a version of Dasani that was ideal for the British palate. Dasani launched with the first stage of what was going to be a £7 million advertising campaign on February 10th, 2004, and it went okay. For weeks, the British public either didn't notice or didn't care that it was tap water, the same way Americans don't seem to care. There were occasional rough patches for the launch, like shopkeepers in Buxton, a town famous for its mineral water, complaining about being forced by their contracts with Coca-Cola to replace bottles of the local water in coolers with Dasani. Or the regulators launching an investigation into whether Coca-Cola should be using the word pure on the label. But on the whole, it went okay. A lot of articles written more recently claim that Coca-Cola's first blunder was copying an American Dasani slogan, "Can't live without spunk," which has a very different meaning in the UK. But I don't think that's true. The only actual evidence I could find of that slogan is a screenshot on one tech news website that liked innuendo. Looks like a web designer reused some American ad images in one part of a Flash-based website that almost no one saw. No other article from the time, that I can find anyway, mentions that slogan at all. You know, the advertising was put together by Coca-Cola's UK division. They're not stupid. In fact, the advertising team was probably breathing a sigh of relief. All things considered, the launch had been successful. And then it all went wrong. Very, very quickly. Exactly 3 weeks after launch, March the 2nd, most of the major British newspapers simultaneously put out big stories announcing that Dasani was bottled tap water. Most of them mentioned that episode of Only Fools and Horses, and all of them made a lot of noise implying that it was a rip-off, although perhaps they didn't put it in quite so few words. And back when a lot of people actually read physical newspapers, front page news saying that your product is a rip-off does make a big difference to sales. But why was it suddenly news everywhere at the same time after 3 silent weeks? The missing piece of the puzzle is one journalist called Graham Hiscott, who worked for the Press Association. And as he tells it, as part of a brilliant half-hour documentary made later that year, he happened to be flipping through an issue of The Grocer, an industry magazine, at work one day. And, you know, that's an event that the documentary asked him to recreate for some reason. Now, The Grocer is an ideal source for journalists looking for the next story about a product recall or a weird marketing strategy, and that issue of the magazine had a feature on bottled water, and there was just one line in one article describing Dasani as a mineral-enhanced treated tap water, which when written so clearly seemed odd. So Graham called Coca-Cola and they said, yes, Dasani is treated tap water from the main supply at their bottling plant right there in Sidcup, South London. 10 miles from Peckham, where that episode of Only Fools and Horses was set. A few hours after that phone call, there was an article on the Press Association Newswire about where Dasani came from. Articles on the Newswire don't usually go straight to the public, they go to other journalists first who can use them or adapt them. And the editors at most of the newspapers correctly decided that yes, this was something their readers would be interested in. 6 months earlier, when Coca-Cola was setting out preparations for their Dasani launch, The Grocer had run a small article about it. And there's a line in there that's prophetic. One senior buyer warned that some consumers may be put off by the water's lack of provenance. And now, Coke bottles tap water for 3,000% markup was on the front pages. But Coca-Cola and Dasani soldiered on. That didn't kill the brand. They put more marketing budget behind it. They gave away free bottles in supermarkets. Another article in The Grocer from back then quotes Coca-Cola's UK marketing director. There cannot be many people who do not know about Dasani now. I cannot imagine how much we would have had to spend to get that level of awareness. There is a theory that there's no such thing as bad publicity, after all. The final nail in the coffin was the contamination. They'd had a bad batch of calcium chloride delivered right here. It's one of the chemicals they use in the purification process, and tests revealed that their water contained above the legal limits of bromate, a cancer-causing chemical. There wasn't anywhere near enough in the water to do harm, but there was enough that it was outside the legal limits. So within 24 hours, every unsold bottle was recalled back here, and the shelves were empty. Just like Del Boy, not only had Coca-Cola sold tap water in a bottle, but they sold contaminated tap water in a bottle. Dasani never returned to shops, never launched in France or Germany like they were planning, and to this day, if you type Dasani into Google UK, you get results about the disaster. News reports from 2004 on the first page. Coca-Cola launched other water brands, of course, but as far as I can tell, they all look to be spring waters or mineral waters. They're not hooking up a purifier to the tap. Not over here. There are other folks selling purified tap water, of course, but that's usually the cheap option on the shelf. Not that it matters. It's all just water. And I reckon Coca-Cola could absolutely have made this work. Maybe they still could. There is a world in which one journalist didn't use the words tap water, or another journalist didn't happen to look at one particular article, and where the launch went just fine, and Britain got used to the fact that drinking bottled, purified tap water could be normal. After all, if it had been a popular brand, no one would want to admit their purchases might be questionable. It's a lot easier to just say, yeah, that's fine, of course, I know it's tap water, than go, hang on, I've been paying how much for what? And worry that you might have been ripped off. I don't think the Dasani disaster was inevitable, but it happened. And all that's left, 16 years later, is a few bottles like this.
All right, first off, my man Tom Scott slayed this, man. This was, very flawless video, very informative. It makes that episode even more funnier now. I'm gonna rewatch that on my free time. We'll put a link to our initial reaction to it. So that just makes it so crazy that you got this episode that was comedic, and so can we call this safely Coca-Cola's biggest flop in history? Because listen, growing up in I think it was in high school, definitely in high school, because it said 1999, that's when it came out over there. So I was in high school around that time. We definitely tried Dasani. That has to be the worst water ever. I've tried it once, and that was it for me as a child. That is the worst water. I don't know anyone growing up that is a fan of Dasani water. That shit is trash. I don't care. When I used to go to theme parks, that was like the only thing. For example, going to Six Flags, that was the only water brand that they had there. I would not get it. I'd rather just drink soda. I would not, or just bring my own bottled water. The water that we grew up drinking, that we still drink to this today, and hopefully you guys don't tell me it's bad too, was Poland Spring. That's the one that we drink a lot of bottled water. Poland Spring was probably the one that we drink a lot of. And most places, to be honest with you guys, if I ever travel or anything, I do not drink tap water. If I go to a restaurant, I don't drink tap water. I don't know, something about it. Just don't trust it. If I can't personally see, what's going on, I don't ever trust it. But this guy, Tom, kudos. This is such a well-informed video, and I'm not always like crazy into like videos that spit a lot of facts, but he made it damn well entertaining that anybody can listen, and just amazing. So my hat's off to the dude. This is so cool seeing that. But damn, that means that's the biggest. It got to be like the biggest flop for it, because damn, man, you got extra levels, or without whatever the UK standard was at the time, you extra bromate, and hell no, I would not be drinking that. So being that obviously I've never been to the UK, what's the go-to water brand? Like if I'm going to go travel and I'm going to go get a bottled water, what's the one for me to go for? So that this way we know. This is very interesting stuff, because as someone that wants to travel abroad, you got to respect the level of standards on it. New York, and again, I haven't really looked into it that much, but we're known for having pretty good water. Standards are pretty high. If it's changed any years from that, I don't know, but I don't really drink tap water. I like bottled water. It just I don't know. I just feel more safe that way. So I'm more of a bottled water guy. Poland Spring is my jam. Please, hopefully, don't tell me that one is corrupt. I'm getting nervous. But this number one, Dasani sucks. Again, I don't know anybody here growing up in my years that ever drinks Dasani here. That shit is trash. So I steer clear for it, and I never knew about this fiasco here. Again, this makes Only Fools and Horses episode, more special. I love the facts. I love the things that were popping up from time to time. Even having cracking up with the horn. He's like, incoming horn in 3, 2, 1. So, just a great video. Very chill guy, really cool guy. Thanks to the two gents who told me to check this out. Again, this is a very informative video, and it just you know, it's just an intriguing video. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely am not going to be rocking with Dasani. I never want to. Sorry, Coca-Cola. I don't know where it ranks right now. Like, I'd be curious to see, like, you know, where it ranks, like, at least in, you know, in the US. Like, if that shit is number one, I'm gonna be like, what the freak? So that's something we're gonna check out on our free time. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is very informative, very cool video, and we'll see you next time. We'll keep those suggestions coming. We'll check it out. Of course, we got more Only Fools and Horses, you know, headed your way. But yeah, I love this video. So see you next time. Peace and love, everybody. Peace. Hold up, guys. Weird hunch of mine, just to make sure we let this play out. I don't know, man. Ever since watching Still Game, I need to learn to make sure to keep watching the end, just in case we miss anything. So hold up.
Shame about the people honking, wasn't it? Yeah, they might have. And now, I'll tell you what, we timed that well, because here comes a lorry.
Back comes spring. All right, there we go. I feel much better now. I don't know, guys. Let's see who made it to that ending right there, guys. My bad, dudes. We're ending it now officially. Peace.